The morning sun painted golden streaks across the empty playground as Violet kicked her feet against the park bench. Her shiny black shoes barely touched the ground below. At 8 years old, she was used to sitting alone, but that didn't make it hurt any less. Around her, the park buzzed with life. Children raced down slides, swung high into the sky, and chased each other through the grass. Their laughter filled the air like music, but Violet felt like she was listening from behind glass. She watched them play together, forming little groups that seemed to happen so naturally, but whenever she tried to join in, something always went wrong. Maybe today will be different, she whispered to herself. The same words she said every morning. Violet's father, Richard, was what people called important. He owned a big company that made computer parts, and everyone always wanted to talk to him about business. Their house was huge, with rooms she never even went into, and there were always serious-looking people in expensive suits coming and going. But all of that importance didn't help her make friends. At school, things were complicated. Some kids acted really nice to her face, but she heard them whispering about her family's money when they thought she wasn't listening. Others seemed scared to even talk to her, like she might bite them or something. The teachers always smiled extra wide when they saw her, but it felt fake, like they were trying too hard. "She's the CEO's daughter," she'd heard one parent say to another at the school gate. "You know, the computer company guy. They have that massive house on Oak Hill." Those words made her stomach twist. She didn't want to be known as the CEO's daughter. She just wanted to be Violet, a regular kid who liked drawing pictures of cats and eating peanut butter sandwiches. Her mom had died when she was 5, and since then it had just been her and her dad. He tried his best, but he was always working. Even when he was home, his phone was always ringing with important calls about important things. Sometimes she felt like she was living in a house full of echoes. The nanny, Mrs. Chen, was kind but busy. She made sure Violet ate her vegetables and did her homework, but she wasn't really someone to play with. The housekeeper, David, would sometimes let her help fold laundry, but he had his own work to do too, so here she was again, at the neighborhood park on a Saturday morning, hoping things might be different this time. A red ball rolled past her feet, and she looked up to see a little girl about her age chasing after it. The girl had curly brown hair tied up in 2 bouncy ponytails and wore a purple t-shirt with a cartoon dinosaur on it. She was laughing as she ran, completely focused on catching her ball. "Got it," the girl said, scooping up the ball just before it rolled into the bushes. Violet smiled a little. The girl looked so happy and carefree. She wondered what that felt like. "Nice catch," said a man's voice. Violet turned to see a tall man with kind eyes walking over to the girl. He was wearing jeans and a simple blue shirt, and his hair was a bit messy, like he'd been running around too. This must be the girl's dad. "Thanks, Papa," the girl said, throwing the ball back to him. "Can we play catch some more?" "Of course, Lily," he said, catching the ball easily. "But let's move over there so we don't bother anyone." As they walked past Violet's bench, the man noticed her sitting alone. He slowed down and gave her a friendly nod. Violet quickly looked down at her hands, feeling suddenly shy. The father and daughter began playing catch nearby. Violet couldn't help but watch them. The dad was patient when Lily missed the ball, encouraging her when she made good throws. They laughed together when the ball went flying in the wrong direction. It looked like the most fun thing in the world. "Good arm, Lily," the dad called out. "You're getting stronger every week." Lily beamed with pride. "Really, Papa? Do you think I could be on a baseball team someday?" "I think you could do anything you set your mind to," he replied, and Violet could tell he really meant it. As they played, other children began to notice. A few kids Violet recognized from school arrived with their parents. They ran straight to the playground equipment, calling out to friends who were already there. Nobody looked twice at Violet on her bench. She sighed and checked the pink watch on her wrist. Mrs. Chen would pick her up in an hour. Another Saturday at the park. Another hour of watching from the sidelines. But then something unexpected happened. The red ball came bouncing toward her again, faster this time. It hit the leg of her bench and ricocheted off toward the pond. Without thinking, Violet jumped up and ran after it. She managed to catch it just before it rolled into the water. "Wow, great save," called out Lily, running over with her dad close behind. Violet felt her cheeks turn red. She held out the ball, not sure what to say. "Thanks so much," said the dad, taking the ball with a warm smile. "I'm Ben, and this is my daughter Lily. That was some pretty quick thinking." I'm Violet, she said quietly. Hi, Violet, Lily said with a big grin. You're really fast. Do you like playing catch? Violet nodded, though she'd never really played much catch before. Mrs. Chen wasn't the ball-playing type, and her dad was usually too busy. Ben looked at his daughter, then back at Violet sitting alone on the bench. Something seemed to click in his mind. He glanced around the park, noting how the other children were all playing together while Violet sat by herself. Lily, he said gently, what do you think about inviting Violet to play with us? Lily's face lit up like a Christmas tree. Yes, that would be so fun. Violet, do you want to play catch with us? For a moment, Violet just stared. Was this really happening? Were they actually asking her to join them? I'm not very good at catching, she admitted. Ben laughed kindly. That's okay. Lily's still learning too. The best way to get better is to practice with friends. The word friends made Violet's heart skip a beat. When was the last time someone had used that word about her? She looked at Lily's hopeful face, then at Ben's patient smile, and felt something warm spreading in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, today really would be different. Violet's hands trembled slightly as she stood up from the bench. Part of her wanted to run back to safety, to the familiar loneliness she knew so well, but Lily's bright smile was like sunshine, warming something inside her that had been cold for a very long time. Okay, Violet said softly. I'll try. Awesome. Lily bounced on her toes. Papa, can Violet stand between us? That way she can catch from both sides. Ben chuckled. Good thinking, kiddo. Violet, how about you start here in the middle and we'll take it nice and slow? As Violet walked to the spot between them, she felt like she was stepping into a different world. Around them, the park continued its usual Saturday rhythm, but somehow everything felt new and exciting. Ben tossed the ball gently toward Violet. It came slowly, perfectly aimed at her hands. She caught it. The feel of the ball settling into her palms sent a little thrill through her. Great catch, Lily cheered, clapping her hands. Violet couldn't help but smile. She threw the ball toward Lily, trying to copy Ben's gentle style. It went a bit to the left, but Lily ran over and scooped it up easily. Nice throw, Ben said. You've got good aim. They played like this for several minutes, taking turns throwing to each other. Every time Violet caught the ball, she felt a little more confident. Every time she made a good throw, Lily would cheer or Ben would offer encouragement. It was nothing like the pressure she felt at school, where every move seemed watched and judged. My turn to be in the middle, Lily announced after a while. Violet and Ben spread out. And now she was throwing directly to Ben. He was much taller than Lily, but he always caught her throws, even when they went wide or bounced before reaching him. You're getting the hang of this, he said, tossing the ball back to her. Have you played sports before? Violet caught the ball and shook her head. Not really. My dad signed me up for tennis lessons once, but... She trailed off, remembering how the instructor had treated her differently once he learned who her father was. But what? Lily asked, catching the ball that Violet had thrown her way. It just wasn't very fun, Violet said simply. Ben seemed to understand there was more to the story, but he didn't push. Well, this is just for fun. No pressure, no rules except to enjoy ourselves. As they continued playing, Violet began to relax. Her throws became more confident, her catches more natural. She even started laughing when the ball went wild and they all had to chase it together. Watch this, Lily called out, throwing the ball high into the air and trying to catch it herself. It came down and bonked her gently on the head instead. Violet giggled. Actually giggled. It felt so good that she did it again. My turn to try that, Violet said, throwing the ball up. It came down and she caught it cleanly. Whoa, Lily said, you made it look easy. They took turns trying trick catches, getting sillier and more playful as they went. Ben joined in too, pretending to be a baseball player and missing on purpose, which made both girls dissolve into laughter. After about 20 minutes of playing, they all sat down on the grass to rest. Violet found herself between Ben and Lily, feeling more comfortable than she had in months. This is the most fun I've had in a long time, Violet admitted, picking at the grass. Really? Lily asked. Don't you play with your friends all the time? Violet's smile faded a little. I don't really have friends. What? Lily looked genuinely shocked. But why? You're so nice and fun to play with. Violet shrugged. No. You're sure how to explain without sounding like she was feeling sorry for herself. Kids at school. They act weird around me sometimes. Ben watched her carefully. There was something in his expression that told Violet he might understand more than she expected. That must be really hard, he said gently. Sometimes kids don't know how to act when they think someone is different from them. Ben explained to Lily. Even when that person is actually just like them inside. Lily frowned, thinking hard. That's silly. Violet is awesome. She caught the ball better than me, and she's really nice. Violet felt her eyes getting a little watery, but in a good way. When was the last time someone had called her awesome and really meant it? Thank you, she whispered. Do you want to be my friend? Lily asked suddenly. For real, I mean. Not just today. Violet looked at her in surprise. You really want to be friends with me? Of course. We could play together all the time. I could teach you how to swing on the monkey bars, and you could teach me how to catch balls in the air like you did. Ben smiled at his daughter's enthusiasm, but Violet could see something thoughtful in his eyes. He was probably wondering about her family, about why a kid her age was always alone at the park. I'd like that, Violet said. I'd like that a lot. Papa, can Violet come over to our house sometime? Lily asked, turning to her father. We could play in the backyard and maybe watch a movie. Ben hesitated for just a moment. Well, we'd need to ask her parents first and make sure it's okay with everyone. Violet's stomach dropped a little. Her parents? Well, parent. Just her dad, really, and Mrs. Chen. How would she explain about Ben and Lily? What if her dad said no? What if he decided she didn't need friends from the park? My dad works a lot, she said carefully. But maybe I could ask. What does your dad do? Lily asked innocently. He has a business, Violet said, which was true but didn't tell the whole story. Ben seemed to pick up on her reluctance to share details. All parents work hard, he said kindly. I'm sure he wants you to have good friends. Just then, Violet's phone buzzed. It was a text from Mrs. Chen saying she'd be there in 10 minutes to pick her up. I have to go soon, Violet said, disappointed. Already? Lily's face fell. But we were having so much fun. I know. I wish I could stay longer. Ben stood up and brushed the grass off his jeans. Tell you what, Violet. What if we meet here again next Saturday? Same time, same place. Would you like that? Violet's heart jumped. Yes. I mean, if it's okay with you. More than okay, Ben said with a warm smile. It's a plan. Lily jumped up and hugged Violet suddenly. This is going to be so great. We're going to be best friends. As Violet hugged her back, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt like she belonged somewhere, with someone, like maybe she wasn't destined to always watch life from the sidelines. In the distance, she could see Mrs. Chen's car pulling into the parking lot. I have to go, she said reluctantly. See you next Saturday, Lily called out as Violet gathered her things. Next Saturday, Violet repeated, and this time when she smiled, it reached all the way to her eyes. The whole week felt different to Violet. For the first time in months, she woke up each morning with something to look forward to. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. At school on Monday, she found herself thinking about Lily's laugh during math class. When her teacher asked her to solve a problem on the board, Violet actually smiled as she walked up. Instead of feeling nervous like usual, you seemed cheerful today. Violet, Mrs. Rodriguez said after class. I made a new friend this weekend, Violet said, the words feeling strange but wonderful in her mouth. That's wonderful. What's her name? Lily, she's really nice and funny. Violet paused. And her dad is nice too. Mrs. Rodriguez smiled warmly. I'm so glad to hear that. Friends can make everything better, can't they? During lunch, Violet sat at her usual table by the window. She wasn't alone by choice anymore, though. The other kids in her class still kept their distance, but somehow it didn't hurt as much. She had something they didn't know about, a real friend who liked her just for being herself. She pulled out her notebook and started drawing pictures of the park. A little girl with curly hair catching a ball, a tall man with kind eyes, a red ball flying through the air. She drew herself right in the middle of it all, smiling. That evening at dinner, her father Richard actually looked up from his phone for more than a few seconds. Mrs. Chen tells me you seemed happy today, he said, cutting into his steak. Did something good happen at school? Violet considered her words carefully. Her dad wasn't mean, but he worried about everything. If she told him about Ben and Lily, he might ask too many questions or decide it wasn't safe. I just had a good day, she said. He nodded and went back to his phone, where she could see emails piling up. That's good, sweetheart. You deserve good days. Tuesday and Wednesday crawled by. Violet kept thinking about things she wanted to tell Lily, like how her cat, Mr. Whiskers, had learned to open cabinet doors, or how she'd found a really cool rock that looked like a heart. She'd never had someone to share these little things with before. On Thursday, Mrs. Chen noticed Violet humming while doing her homework. "You've been very happy this week," Mrs. Chen observed, folding laundry nearby. "What's got you in such a good mood?" "I met some people at the park last Saturday," Violet said. "A girl my age and her dad. They were really nice to me." Mrs. Chen paused in her folding. "Oh, what were their names?" "Lily and Ben. They asked me to play catch with them." "That sounds lovely. Did you have fun?" "The most fun I've had in forever," Violet said honestly. Mrs. Chen smiled, but Violet could see a little worry in her eyes too. "Your father will want to know about any new friends." Violet's stomach tightened. "Do I have to tell him right now?" "Well, if you're planning to see them again." "We're supposed to meet at the park again this Saturday," Violet said quickly. "Same time as last week. Could we maybe not tell Dad until after? I don't want him to worry and say I can't go." Mrs. Chen studied her for a long moment. She'd been taking care of Violet for 3 years now, and she'd never seen her so excited about anything social. "I suppose it wouldn't hurt to wait until after this weekend," she said finally. "But if your father asks directly, I won't lie to him." "Thank you, Mrs. Chen." Violet hugged her quickly. "You're the best." Friday night, Violet lay in bed staring at the ceiling. What if Ben and Lily didn't show up? What if they'd forgotten about her? What if they'd decided they didn't want to be friends after all? She tried to push the worried thoughts away, but they kept creeping back in. This had happened before. People who seemed nice at first but then disappeared. Like when she was 6 and had played with a girl at the community pool for an entire afternoon, only to have the girl's mother drag her away when she found out who Violet's father was. Saturday morning finally arrived. Violet was dressed and ready to go by 8 o'clock, even though Mrs. Chen wasn't picking her up until 10. "Someone's eager," Mrs. Chen said with a smile as Violet bounced around the kitchen. "What if they don't come?" Violet asked, voicing her biggest fear. "Then we'll know they weren't the right friends for you," Mrs. Chen said gently. "But from what you've told me, they sound like good people. I think they'll be there." The car ride to the park felt like the longest 20 minutes of Violet's life. When they finally pulled into the parking lot, she pressed her face against the window, scanning the playground for familiar faces. And there they were. Ben was sitting on the same bench where she'd been alone just a week ago. Lily was on the swings, pumping her legs and calling out to her father about how high she was going. "They came," Violet whispered, relief flooding through her. "Of course they did," Mrs. Chen said. "Good friends keep their promises. I'll be back in an hour, okay?" Violet barely heard her as she scrambled out of the car and ran toward the playground. Lily spotted her first. "Violet," she yelled, jumping off the swing midair and running over. "You came. I was starting to worry you forgot about us." "I could never forget," Violet said, and she meant it. Ben walked over with that same warm smile she remembered. "Hey there, Violet. Ready for round 2? "Definitely," she said, feeling braver than she had all week. "Great. I brought something special today," Lily said, running to a small bag by the bench. She pulled out a bright yellow frisbee. "Papa taught me how to throw this. Want to learn?" For the next hour, they played frisbee, took turns on the swings, and even tried the monkey bars together. Violet managed to make it across 3 bars before dropping, which was 3 more than she'd ever done before. "You're getting stronger," Ben encouraged. That was awesome. But the best part was just talking. They sat in the grass and Lily told her about her pet hamster, Peanut, who could do tricks. Violet shared about Mr. Whiskers and his cabinet opening skills. Ben told them both funny stories about his work at the local library, where he helped people find books and organize reading programs. "A library?" Violet asked. "That sounds so cool. I love books. You should come visit sometime," Ben said. "I could show you some great stories I think you'd like." "Really? You wouldn't mind?" "Are you kidding? Librarians love when kids get excited about books. It's like the best part of our job." Violet felt that warm feeling again, the one that made her feel like she belonged somewhere. These people really seemed to want her around. They weren't acty, nice because they had to, or because they wanted something from her family. They just liked her. As their time together came to an end, Lily grabbed Violet's hand. "Same time next week?" she asked hopefully. Absolutely, Violet said, squeezing her hand back. Walking back to Mrs. Chen's car, Violet felt like she was floating. This friendship thing might just work out after all. The following Tuesday, Violet did something she'd never done before. She asked Mrs. Chen if they could make a stop after school. The library? Mrs. Chen asked, surprised. Since when are you interested in the library? My friend's dad works there, Violet said, trying to sound casual. He said he could show me some good books. Mrs. Chen raised an eyebrow. This friend from the park? Violet nodded, suddenly nervous. Is that okay? After a moment, Mrs. Chen smiled. Of course it's okay. I think it's wonderful that you're making friends and trying new things. The Riverside Community Library wasn't very big, but to Violet, it felt magical. Tall shelves filled with colorful books stretched toward the ceiling, and cozy reading corners with soft chairs invited people to sit and explore new worlds. The afternoon sunlight streamed through large windows, making everything feel warm and welcoming. At the front desk, she spotted Ben immediately. He was helping an elderly woman find a cookbook, his patient smile exactly the same as when he played with Lily at the park. Violet, he said when he noticed her approaching. I was hoping you'd take me up on that offer. Mrs. Patterson, this is the young lady I was telling you about who loves books. The elderly woman beamed at Violet. How wonderful. Are you looking for anything special today, dear? I'm not sure, Violet admitted. I like stories about animals and adventure. Oh, Ben knows just the section for you, Mrs. Patterson said with a wink before walking away with her cookbook. Ben came around from behind the desk. Follow me. I've got some books I think you're going to love. He led her to a section filled with chapter books perfect for her age. The shelves were organized not just by author but by little handwritten signs that said things like Great First Adventures and Animal Friends. Did you make these signs? Violet asked, touching one gently. Guilty as charged, Ben said with a laugh. I figured kids might have an easier time finding books they'd actually want to read if we organize them by what they're about, not just who wrote them. He pulled a book from the shelf. This one's about a girl who finds an injured owl and nurses it back to health. And this one, he grabbed another, is about a boy who discovers his neighbor's cat is actually a secret agent. Violet giggled. A secret agent cat? I know it sounds silly, but it's actually really good. Want to take a look? She settled into one of the reading chairs and opened the first book. Within minutes, she was completely absorbed in the story. Ben quietly went back to work, checking in on her every now and then, but mostly letting her read in peace. How's it going over here? He asked after about half an hour. This is amazing, Violet said, looking up with bright eyes. The girl in the story reminds me of myself a little bit. Yeah, how so? She's kind of alone a lot, but then she finds this herd owl and suddenly she has something important to take care of. Something that needs her. Ben sat down in the chair next to her. That's a pretty good observation. Sometimes taking care of someone else helps us discover things about ourselves we didn't know were there. Violet thought about that. Is that what happened with you and Lily? In a way, yes. Being Lily's dad taught me how to be patient and how to find joy in simple things, like playing catch in the park. Where's Lily's mom? Violet asked, then immediately felt her cheeks burn. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked that. It's okay, Ben said gently. Lily's mom and I aren't together anymore. It's been just the two of us for about 2 years now. Violet nodded, understanding more than Ben probably realized. It's been just me and my dad for 3 years. Since my mom died. I'm sorry, Violet. That must be really hard. It is sometimes. My dad tries, but he's always working. And other people, they act weird around us. Ben was quiet for a moment. People can be strange when they think someone's life is different from theirs. But you know what I've learned? The things that make us different are often the things that make us special. Just then, Mrs. Chen appeared in the children's section. Ready to go, Violet? Violet looked down at the book in her hands, disappointed. All ready? You can check that out, Ben said. Do you have a library card? She shook her head. No problem. Let's get you set up with one right now. At the front desk, Ben helped Violet fill out the library card application. When they got to the parent signature line, Violet hesitated. My dad will need to sign this, won't he? Usually yes, Ben said. But Mrs. Chen could sign as your guardian if she has permission from your father. Mrs. Chen looked thoughtful. I think it's time we talk to your father about your new friends anyway, don't you? Violet's stomach dropped. What if he says I can't see you anymore? Why would he do that? Ben asked, genuinely puzzled. Mrs. Chen and Violet exchanged glances. How could they explain without making it sound terrible? My father is protective, Violet said carefully. He worries about people wanting to be friends with me for the wrong reasons. Understanding dawned in Ben's eyes. I see. Well, any parent who loves their child that much must be a good person. I'm sure once he meets us, he'll see that we just genuinely enjoy spending time with you. You think so? I know so. Tell you what, why don't you take this book home anyway? You can bring it back next week, and maybe by then you'll have your library card sorted out. Violet hugged the book to her chest. Thank you, Ben, for everything. Thank you for brightening up my Tuesday afternoon. On the way home, Mrs. Chen was unusually quiet. Finally, she spoke up. Violet, I need to tell your father about Ben and Lily tonight. Violet's heart started pounding. Why tonight? Because I can see how important this friendship is to you, and secrets aren't fair to anyone. Your father deserves to know what's making you so happy, and Ben and Lily deserve to know who they're becoming friends with. What do you mean? Mrs. Chen pulled into their long driveway, past the iron gates and manicured gardens. Violet, honey, your father isn't just any businessman. He's very well known, and that comes with complications sometimes. Violet looked up at their huge house with its many windows and perfect landscaping. For the first time in weeks, it felt cold and imposing again. What if Dad says I can't see them anymore? Then we'll figure something out, Mrs. Chen said firmly. But I don't think that's going to happen. Your father wants you to be happy, and I've never seen you as happy as you've been these past few weeks. That evening at dinner, Violet picked at her food nervously. Any minute now, Mrs. Chen would tell her father about Ben and Lily, and everything might change. Violet's been spending time at the library, Mrs. Chen said casually, and Violet nearly choked on her water. Here it comes, she thought. Everything's about to fall apart. Richard looked up from his phone, which was unusual enough to make Violet nervous. The library? That's great, sweetheart. I'm glad you're reading more. She's made some friends there too, Mrs. Chen continued, and Violet felt her heart stop completely. Her father set down his phone entirely now, which almost never happened during dinner. Friends? Yes, a lovely man who works there and his daughter. They've been spending time together at the park too. Violet watched her father's expression change. His business face appeared, the one she'd seen him use during important phone calls and meetings. Cool, careful, and slightly suspicious. What kind of time? He asked, his voice taking on that tone he used when negotiating deals. Playing catch, talking, just normal kid things, Mrs. Chen said calmly. Violet's been happier these past few weeks than I've seen her in years. Richard turned to look at Violet, really look at her. She felt like she was under a microscope. Is this true? You've been meeting strangers at the park? They're not strangers anymore, Violet said quietly. They're my friends. Violet, we've talked about this. You can't just trust everyone who's nice to you. Some people might want to use me because of who you are, Violet finished, having heard this lecture many times before. I know, Dad, but Ben and Lily aren't like that. Ben and Lily? Richard's voice sharpened. What are their last names? What does this Ben person do besides work at the library? How did he approach you? Violet felt tears starting to build behind her eyes. He didn't approach me. I was sitting alone like always, and their ball rolled toward me. They were just being nice. Violet, honey. Richard's voice softened slightly. I know you want friends, but we have to be careful. There are people who might pretend to be nice because they want something from our family. But what if they really are nice? Violet asked, her voice getting smaller. What if they just like me for me? Richard ran a hand through his hair, looking tired. It's complicated, sweetheart. Mrs. Chen cleared her throat. Mr. Harrison, I've been watching Violet with these people. I saw them at the library today. The man Ben was genuinely kind to her. He helped her find books, set up a library card, and treated her like any other child. There was nothing calculated about it. You took her to meet him without asking me first? Richard's business voice was back. I took her to the library, Mrs. Chen said firmly, where she happened to see her friend. Richard, you hired me to take care of Violet's well-being, and her well-being includes social connections. She's been isolated for too long. Violet looked back and forth between them, feeling like she was watching a tennis match where her happiness was the ball. I just want to have friends, she whispered. Just one friend who doesn't care about money or companies or any of that stuff. Richard looked at his daughter, really looked at her. He saw the hope in her eyes, but also the fear. Fear that he was about to take away the first good thing that had happened to her in a long time. "Tell me about them," he said finally, his voice gentler. "What's Ben like? What's his daughter like?" Violet's eyes lit up cautiously. "Ben is really patient and kind. He makes Lily laugh all the time, and he's good at explaining things. And Lily is funny and brave, and she doesn't care that I'm not good at sports. She just wants to play together." "How old is Lily?" 8, like me. She has curly hair and she wants to be on a baseball team someday. Her dad encourages her to try everything." Richard was quiet for a long moment. "And Ben? What else do you know about him?" "He organizes reading programs at the library. He makes special signs to help kids find books they'll like. He and Lily live together, just the two of them, like us." "What happened to Lily's mother?" "Her parents aren't together anymore. It's been just them for 2 years." Mrs. Chen watched Richard processing this information. She could see him trying to balance his protective instincts with his desire to see Violet happy. "Mr. Harrison," she said gently, "perhaps you could meet them yourself. See for yourself what kind of people they are." Richard looked at Mrs. Chen, then back at Violet. "You really like these people?" "More than anything," Violet said honestly. "Dad, for the first time in forever, I feel like someone likes me just because I'm me, not because they're scared of you, or because they want something from us. Just because they think I'm worth spending time with." Those words hit Richard like a punch to the chest. He'd been so focused on protecting Violet from people who might use her that he hadn't realized how much she needed people who would simply accept her. "Okay," he said slowly. "Here's what we're going to do. Saturday, when you usually meet them at the park, I'm going to come with you." Violet's face fell. "Dad, no, if you show up, they'll figure out who we are and everything will change." "Maybe. Or maybe they'll prove they're as genuine as you think they are. But what if they get scared and don't want to be friends anymore?" Richard reached across the table and took his daughter's hand. "Then they weren't the right friends for you anyway. But Violet, if they really care about you the way you think they do, finding out about our family won't change that." Violet wasn't convinced. "You don't understand. People always act different when they find out. Always." "Some people do," Richard agreed. "But the right people won't. And if Ben and Lily are really as special as you say they are, then maybe they'll surprise you." Mrs. Chen nodded approvingly. "I think that's a fair compromise. But you have to promise me something, Dad," Violet said suddenly. "What's that?" "You have to give them a real chance. You can't go in there looking for reasons why they're bad people. They're good people, and they've made me happier than I've been since Mom died." Richard felt his throat tighten at the mention of his wife. He missed her every day, but he especially missed how good she'd been at helping Violet navigate friendships and social situations. "I promise," he said. "I'll give them a fair chance. But you have to understand that if I think they're not genuine, we'll need to end this friendship. And if they are genuine," Richard smiled, the first real smile Violet had seen from him in weeks, "then I guess our family's about to get a little bigger." Violet squeezed her father's hand. Saturday suddenly felt very far away and very close at the same time. Everything was about to change one way or another. "What if they don't show up because they can tell something's different?" she asked. "Then we'll know they weren't meant to be part of our lives," Richard said. "But something tells me that if they've made you this happy, they're not going anywhere." As they finished dinner, Violet felt a mix of excitement and terror. In just a few days, her two worlds would collide. She could only hope they wouldn't destroy each other in the process.